Listen, this is going to be a fun weekend. And guess who we got? Guess the guest that we have today for the first show of the weekend. We have the man himself.
The king of the weekend.
The king of the weekend. Without Say Less, the All-Star game should just move to another city, in my opinion. There's no All-Star game without you guys. Let's be real.
Fair enough.
And this is so let's get into a little bit about how you started this, what your journey was like. This is your second All-Star game, right?
Third one.
Third, okay. What you did 2 years ago too?
Yeah, so I started out, I used to go to the All-Star games just as a consumer.
Yep.
So I went to Toronto, I went to LA, just kind of to network. And then I just felt there was a void in the market for, what we do in New York at the restaurant.
Right.
So the first one we did was in Chicago, 2020, right before the pandemic, which went over really well. And we did that for 3 nights. So we did something with Al Harrington. We did his 40th birthday party.
Nice.
We did a brunch party. And then we did an album release party with Fabulous on Sunday after All-Star. So that was a great weekend. And then we followed that up with Salt Lake City last year. And then this is our third activation in Indianapolis.
So you bring in the heavy hitters right off the bat. You got all the big names right off the bat in year one in 2020. So this year, I can't even wait to see what this is going to be this weekend.
Yeah. What was your favorite of the 3 cities so far?
Well, Indy is obviously only night one complete, but it was a successful night. Utah was probably my favorite so far. Chicago, I didn't really have anything to compare it to. It went really well, but I had low expectations for Utah last year, and it went really well.
Yeah.
Travis Scott came 3 nights in a row. He ended up performing, and then all the All-Stars were there too. So it was a pretty star-studded event.
So this is the first year you're doing low key, right?
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about what that is, what that's going to be.
Yeah, so low key is a parallel to what I do at the restaurant.
Okay.
It's a media, platform as well as a hospitality company. So we quickly realized that, with all the podcasts that are going on, there's an opportunity during the day to give them a venue that they could shoot their podcast and then also do like a cocktail party mixer gathering for all of their clients and people that are in town, fans, meet and greets. So that's what we're doing during the day. And then at night, there's opportunities with some of the players and some of the brands to do cocktail parties, sit-down dinners, and celebrations. And then at night, for the late-night portion, there's after hours.
So that was like a professional way of saying we're going to turn up at night, basically.
Pretty
right?
much.
Yeah.
Say less.
Yeah, for Say Less.
Yeah.
So
Party business during the day, turn up at night.
Exactly.
yeah. So what made you think of like low key as like something you wanted to advance beyond Say Less? And by the way, just for everyone who doesn't know what Say Less is, for if you live under a rock in New York for some reason, Say Less is the most popular Asian fusion fancy Chinese restaurant maybe in the country, definitely in New York. And it's been around for how long now? Almost 2 years?
A little bit over 2 years.
A little bit over 2 years. The food is incredible. The hospitality is incredible. You should go check it out. Give them the address.
And the vibes are immaculate.
Yeah. What is it, on 38th and 7th?
Yeah, 38th on the corner of 7th Avenue, about 3 blocks from Madison Square Garden and 3 blocks from Times Square, so right in the middle of Manhattan.
So there you go. If you're ever in town and you need to go somewhere and you need Asian fusion and you must have it, you should go to Say Less. So, low key, is that going to be something you're opening in New York soon?
Low key could be, another brand that we do in New York, but I think it's going to start out as a pop-up concept. It's kind of bringing the culture together in other cities.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to do a pop-up in multiple cities than just to, move my whole staff to a new city to open up a restaurant that's brick and mortar. A lease is at least 10 years long. A pop-up could be 1 week. It could be one weekend. So it gives you a lot more mobility and branding opportunities. And then there's obviously the sponsorship side of the pop-up.
Okay, and last thing about your journey, and then we could talk sports a little bit and see if we can trip you up a little bit. How did you get into the restaurant business, like at first? Like, what was that process for you?
Well, so I went to Syracuse University. That's actually where Justin and I met.
What's that? Is that a big school? Is that a good school?
It's a school upstate, very cold.
Yeah.
But
Go ahead.
A little bit of basketball history over there. So we, after graduating, I worked in finance. I had a finance and marketing degree. Had a great run from 2005 to 2008, and then the financial crisis hit, where all the banking jobs pretty much got wiped out. So I was kind of trying to find my bearings. Ended up taking a job at a restaurant that existed previous to my restaurant career. It was called Philippe Chow. It's kind of a staple on the Upper East Side for Chinese food. Began my career there about 12 years ago, and then through the years, opened a few new venues, and then finally opened Say Less about 2 years ago.
And I think your biggest strength, no matter all the good things that you do as a restaurateur and in the hospitality space, you're building relationships is like none other. And I think that's the reason so many people come to you, so many of the athletes come to you. Like, you get the big names here at pop-ups in different cities, and your brand travels from New York. because your building relationship skills is I think on par with anybody that I know.
Well, yeah, I think my background in the corporate world has helped me, transition to the hospitality world, and just it's the little details, the follow-up email, the text messages the next day, just making sure you stay in touch and just being genuine. Not forcing the issue. Obviously, we take care of a lot of high-profile people, but at the end of the day, they eat the same food that we do, and they want to be treated like regular people.
Agreed. And so, okay, so let's transition a little into sports. Let's talk about the Knicks first, because this is the first Knick team that we've had, since the Melo team, but that wasn't that didn't get you this level of excitement where you actually thought they could beat the Heat and they were going to go to the finals or whatever. This team, I think people are very optimistic about, because not only of what Brunson's done and how his level of acceleration to where he is as a star now, but bringing that with Randall, bringing that with the trade for OG, now bringing in Bogdanovich and Burks, and if they could get those guys healthy, what do you think their ceiling is as a team this year, and do you think they still need a star in order to really compete for a title?
So I grew up as a diehard Knicks fan, going back to the Patrick Ewing days with Oakley and John Starks. So I'm definitely excited about this team, probably more excited than I've been about any team since that era. I think, the management has put them in a great position to make a run this year. Do I think that this is, the end-all, be-all product that we're going to have on the court? Probably not. They've given themselves a lot of flexibility with draft capital, as well as, signing a free agent during the summer. But I am excited to see what this team can do when they're healthy and what kind of run they can make. And obviously, being in the Eastern Conference, there's a couple, teams that are powerhouses, but I think we're positioned very well. They've been very smart with their signings. We've got a lot of value out of the signings we've gotten. Brunson at the time was paid as the 15th best point guard, in the free agent.
And everyone was like, that was a mistake for us to sign.
And people were overreacting, and now you're looking at it, and it's probably the best value of any free agent signing in the last 5 years.
More than that, even.
Yeah,
and it's one of the best free agent signings, I think, in history in terms of what you got, the ROI from the player to what you signed him
and
for.
Also based on what the expectation was to what you actually got.
Yeah. And now look, he's put us back in a position where New York City is a destination now.
Yep.
And I think, to your point, they're in such good financial flexibility where after this year, depending on what happens, and obviously the key is getting these guys healthy and seeing what the team actually is, but they can go out in the offseason still with all their first-round picks. They're going to have 2 picks this year, so they could draft 2 young players. They're going to have a ton of flexibility in order to make moves for a star if they need to do that.
Yep.
So I think we're all excited about that.
Yeah, but I know about this season, before you get to free agency in the summer, I think this team could make a lot of noise. What they do, we don't know. But
well, give me a pick. I want an answer. I don't want you to just wish wash, whiffle waffle. I want you to give me what's the ceiling, and where do you think they're going to go?
I think the ceiling is the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay. So you don't think if everything breaks right, they could beat Boston?
The Knicks have disappointed me for so many years, so I kind of temper my expectations.
Okay.
But I am a diehard Knicks fan. I would love to see them in the finals and win a championship. But I think, you have to kind of trust the process, and we're in the middle of the process, and we've done a remarkable job, not throwing away our future for what's going on right now, and that's what we have done historically. So I think, we're kind of in the middle of it. We haven't really completed the plan.
So you think if they do win the championship this year, let's just step ahead. Is the after party going to be at Sei Less? Is the big question.
It could be a low key.
Could be a low key. Yeah. Okay, that's something for you guys to look forward to. After party. And by the way, you won't be invited, but that's okay. You can see it on Instagram and TikTok and everything else. You'll see all the clips, but that's all you'll see. So my thing is, I think Eastern Conference, I think if they don't get to the Eastern Conference Finals, if they're healthy, if they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals, to me that's disappointing. That would be this year. Last year they were in the second round with the worst team. So my thing is, ceiling to me is NBA Finals. Although I think you're right. I think it's more like Eastern Conference Finals, but I think if everything broke right, remember one injury. If Porzingis isn't healthy, for instance, in the Eastern Conference Finals, that gives us a big leg up in that series.
Yeah. Honestly,
don't you think?
If everything breaks right, they won't have to play Boston. That would be everything breaking right.
If
Boston loses before we have to play them.
Right.
Yeah, there's a few teams in the Eastern. Like look at the Heat last year, right?
Yeah.
They didn't make any noise during the regular season, and then they made a run in the playoffs. So you can't just look at Boston or Milwaukee or the 76ers as being the contenders. There's a couple other teams in there that could,
How do you feel about Cleveland?
I think we match up well with them. Obviously, we beat them last year, but they're definitely one of the hottest teams in the league right now.
And Donovan Mitchell, I feel like, is taking every year. It seems he's taking his game to another level.
He's been incredible.
Yep.
Now it's just like, is he on that level? Do you think he's a superstar at this point? Or do you think he's still a level down from the top 5 to 7 guys?
Yeah, I think being in the top 5 or 7 in the league is definitely a different plateau. But I think, he's definitely on his way to being in consideration for that.
Do you want him or Devin Booker?
I know both of them personally. I'd love to see either one in New York.
Good
Sitting here right now,
Good political answer.
which team would you want to face the least
In the playoffs.
if you're the Knicks?
I think the Clippers are the hottest team right now in the league. The Oklahoma City Thunder scare me a little bit. They're one of those teams that is in the early stages of becoming a powerhouse. But this could be the season that they go on a run. The Sacramento Kings is another team. But obviously we wouldn't have to worry about them to the finals. But I think there's a lot of young teams that, there's kind of a transition going from the old guard to the new guard right now in the league. And I think there's going to be some new teams that kind of emerge.
Are you worried about Are you worried about Miami? Because first of all, if you didn't know the stat, the other 2 years the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, Miami went to the finals. So this would be the third year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and if Miami goes to the finals again, are you concerned about Miami in the playoffs, like from a matchup standpoint? Obviously with Coach Spo, right? He's one of the best coaches in the league, if not the best. And obviously they just play as hard as we do. So it's like one of those rugged series. Is that the team that would concern you most, aside from a Boston, like that you would play in the first or second round?
Yes, I think their signing of Terry Rozier was a very underrated move.
Agreed.
I think Terry's could be a superstar if he's in the right situation.
Yep.
And I think Miami might be the right situation for him. So I'm excited to see, what every team does, from now to the end of the year, and then what they do in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's a dog, too, Terry. Go ahead.
I mean, honestly, what the Heat were missing, especially after the moves from the offseason where they lost Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, was another ball handler. And Rozier gives him that. And look what Rozier was doing on a bad Hornets team. He was averaging 20 and, 6?
Yeah, we saw
shooting like 38% from three.
We also saw him at the beginning of his career when he was with Boston. He was a
Right.
dog, and he wasn't even at the level he's at now, and how much he helped them in their early playoff run.
Yeah,
So
I feel like
agree with
people
you. I
don't
think he's
realize how good he is because of where he's been the last couple of years.
I agree with you. So I think before we get you out of here, let's do a little shot clock, right? Let's do a little 8 seconds, and we're gonna have a little fun question for you because you went to Syracuse, I went to Syracuse, he went to Syracuse. Here's your question for today, okay? 24 seconds on the clock, 8 seconds each. Even though I love you, you do not get extra time, and you are not special. So, if Carmelo Anthony had been drafted by the Detroit Pistons instead of the Nuggets, if he went number 2, which he was promised that he was going to go number 2, and it was last minute they took Darko, if they had taken Carmelo at 2, would he have a championship on his resume now, at this point for his career? Okay? So, that's your cue. Well, I'm going to give you the option since this is your, excuse my language, fucking place, and I'm here as a guest. So do you want to go first or do you want to go second?
Second.
Okay. So
Here
we go.
I'll go first.
You'll go first. We'll put 24 seconds on the clock. 8 seconds each. You do not get extra time. You are not special. Here we go. Would Carmelo Anthony have a championship if he was drafted by the Pistons? Alexander, are you ready?
I am ready.
Your 8 seconds starts now.
I think he would. The Pistons won the title the year he was drafted, with Darko not playing. The question is whether or not the team would have been much different with him on the team because he would have been
You're
playing.
Okay. And go.
I think he would have in his first season in the NBA. What would have happened after that with LeBron in the Eastern Conference, I'm not sure, but I think he might have got that championship the first year in the league.
Wow, we got it right at 8 seconds.
Wow.
Okay. Count me in. All right. My opinion, I think Carmelo wins a championship for sure, and I think it matures. His growth would have come different on Detroit because he's got all the veterans on that team instead of having to be the team on Denver. All right. That's it for today's episode of The Shot Clock. We appreciate Dara. Thank you for everything this weekend. We can't wait for everything that's coming.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for being here.
Of course, anytime. Love you, bro.